Not my style. When I think about this book, nothing comes to mind. DNF your books, guys. Just do it. For your mental health, DNF the books. 2, this is not a personal attack to you if you like. Hey guys, it's Ems and welcome back to my reading room. Welcome to Bookmas Day 5. I cannot believe that we are already on Bookmas Day 5, but I'm having so much fun filming these Bookmas videos. Today, we're gonna go down a little bit of a different path. I'm going to be a bit of a hater today. As someone who really does not like to hate on things, or I don't really share my opinion on if I dislike something, but I feel like with having a YouTube channel, I want to be honest with y'all. So we're going to talk about the books that I did not like or DNF'd in 2024. I do want to make a disclaimer. This is no hate to 1, any of the authors. 2, this is not a personal attack to you if you like this book, because honestly, with a lot of these books, I can see why you would like this book. I just personally did not. We are allowed to have different tastes, and I feel like I'm going to say that a bunch, but I have taste, you have taste, and sometimes our taste is not going to be similar. I do want to say, none of these books were absolutely terrible. I just had personal vendettas against some of them, and we'll talk about that. There's definitely a chance in December that I find some reads that I'm not going to like, but right now I've gotten very lucky. From October to the beginning and end of November, I have found only good reads, so we're definitely heading towards some books that I'm probably not going to like. Though, since I'm filming this video right now, we are only going to be talking about the books at this specific moment that I did not enjoy in 2024. The first book was The Nanny by Lana Ferguson. I went into this book having expectations that were not met. I've heard so many people rave about this book, give it 5 stars, 4 stars, whatever, and I personally just did not like the tropes. From this book, I learned I do not like 1, miscommunication, and 2, liars. I don't know how to explain it. I guess it's not a lying trope, but I feel like they are deceiving each other through literally all of this book. The one thing I liked about this book was Sophie. She was the daughter in this book because this is a single dad trope. I loved the daughter, and she almost is the only reason I kept going with this book and did not DNF it. This book was a 2 stars for me. With my ratings, I am all over the place with rating. I honestly don't trust a rating I give, because most of the time I'm either changing it months later or changing it the day after. So a lot of my ratings are not accurate. For this one, it definitely was a 2 stars. I just did not personally like this book for me, and I honestly wouldn't recommend it, but I do know that people like it and other people would recommend it. So if you think that you would like the single dad and nanny trope with a bit of secrets, then you would probably enjoy this. The next book is less of a dislike and more of a disappointment. I read Bride by Ali Hazelwood, and I gave this one a 3 stars. I would recommend Bride. I love Ali Hazelwood, and if this is your type of style, Omegaverse, vampires, kind of a fantasy world, this is your book. You should read this. But I feel like I was traumatized reading this book. I could not get into the storyline. I did finish the book so quickly. It just was not my style. I don't think I'm ever reading an Omegaverse again. I don't really have much else to say about Bride other than I would recommend it if that's your type of story. Just for me, I did hit the miss list just because I was a bit disappointed. I think I had other expectations hearing that it was her first fantasy novel, and I think I was expecting more world building and a different style of fantasy. I'm more of a romantasy girly, so when we got into the more depths of a fantasy in February when I read this, I was just not obsessed with the way that it was done. The next book is actually one of 2 of my DNFs this year. I have really only DNF'd 2 books, but mostly because I have found a lot of books that I do like, so I didn't really feel the need to DNF. First DNF is Game On by Ceresia Glass. I was reading this over spring break, and I was with my friends a lot of the time. I just could not get into this book. I brought it to the beach with me, and when you're sitting at a beach reading a book and you can't get into it, then it's probably not for you. It was just the writing style that I wasn't loving, and I just could not get my head in the book to pictures the stuff going on, which is definitely a me problem. But as somebody who has been in the gaming community for a while now, I am always watching streamers and I've been watching gaming content since I was young. I just thought that this kind of atmosphere for a book would appeal to me, but when I got into it, I wasn't having it. I just could not see the appeal, but I did like the main girl. I thought she was a literal girl boss and everything she did in her power was so amazing. I just like could not get into the writing aspect. The next book was also just more of a flop rather than I didn't like it. It was Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies. I had this book at a 3-star, but I bumped it down to 2, only because when I think about this book, nothing comes to mind. I can remember bits and pieces and kind of see the story that I was reading. In one ear, out the other, I remember nothing. Maybe that's because it was a cozy fantasy and I was reading this in like March, April time. I was probably looking for more of a romantasy or romance type vibe of a book and I didn't really get that. There was romance in here, but I wasn't obsessed with it like I was with other books. As I was saying, when I think about this book, I have no thoughts. Well, I was looking at my Goodreads review. I wrote nothing. There is no review and I just gave it the stars I gave it. So I feel like that really conveys my words for this book because there were none. The next book was a football romance, and I don't read tons of football romance. I read other sports like hockey and stuff more. In this sports romance, it is First Down by Grace Riley. This was a 2 stars for me, only because it kind of felt like the tropes of every other book I've read. Even in the hockey genre, I felt like I was getting that same plot and same plot points from this one. The romance was quick to become a plot in this book, and I feel like he was so obsessed with her. And normally I ride for an obsessed guy, but I just could not get behind the romance in this one. And some of the plot points that happened, I just was not obsessed with. I didn't enjoy it the way I thought I would. The next book is one that I actually really liked when I first read it, and I had ended up giving it a 3 stars, but thinking about it now and thinking about the tropes, just no. No, it wasn't fun. I was just entertained by the drama. Sometimes maybe you just get that way in a book, but I was living for the drama, so it was still like a 3 stars, but I bumped it down to 2 because I don't think about this book anymore. This book just had this constant miscommunication and insufferable characters. I was reading this and enjoying it because they were so insufferable, but thinking back on it, it was not enjoyable. Like, I don't know why I was thriving reading this book because it just was not up to what I normally enjoy. It was a YA love triangle, but I'll eat up a love triangle, and I think that's why I liked it. And I'm like talking about this book like I liked the book. Like, I was entertained, but thinking of I didn't like it. No, I did not like the romance. And the main thing that I did not like was the insufferable main character, the insufferable side characters, and the insufferable romance. Because when I say insufferable, they were horrific. They did not like each other. They were all mean to each other. Resolution was not the best. Like, the way they resolved this, like, I just could not get behind it. Yet middle school Ems would have ate that book up, and I know she would have ate that book up because I still kind of ate it up, and she liked those kind of books. Yet I still kind of like those books. Like, I don't know my feelings on this book because I put it on here thinking I didn't like it, and now I'm talking about it like it was my favorite book ever. So I don't know. We're gonna put this at a standstill. It is still a 2 stars, but apparently it was so insufferable that it like literally makes me happy. Like, it gives me joy just to talk about it. So maybe I didn't hate it as much as I thought I did. The next book is my second of 2 DNFs. I did, in fact, only DNF 2 books this year, but as you can tell, I got a lot more insufferable books because I didn't DNF them. So DNF your books, guys. Just do it. For your mental health, DNF the books. DNF'd Pulled Under by Michelle Dalton. I just could not get into this story. I was super ready for summer. I was reading this like right before school got out, and I got maybe 3 chapters in. I was like, no, I enjoyed the side characters, but the main character and the romance that she was about to embark on just did not appeal to me. As you could tell, like with the DNFs, like when books just do not appeal to me at all, I will end up DNFing it, especially with writing. It was very YA writing in this one, and I could not. There's this specific YA writing in like 2015, 2016 that I just personally cannot get behind, and that's kind of what this was. It's the way old YA romances around that time were written that sometimes I just feel the characters are insufferable, or I could tell they're going to get insufferable, so I don't finish it, which is what happened with Pulled Under. The next one is genuinely no hate to the author. I have talked about this book on my channel multiple times about how much I just do not like this book, but I love most of the other books I have read by her. Like almost every single book I have read by this author, I have loved. This is The Dare by Elle Kennedy. I don't know how much more I could go on about disliking this book. It was a 2 stars. If I could give it less, I would, but I'm not giving it less because it was a Briar U book and it had other Briar U characters that I just would be doing a disservice if I gave it lower than 2. The main characters in and all, the romance, 0 stars. I could not tell you how infuriated I was reading this book. I was genuinely yelling out loud to my friend Haley in the car when I was reading this book, telling her about how much I could not stand the miscommunication. There is so much miscommunication in this book, and when you think they're finally done miscommunicating, they miscommunicate again. And I love a good, like, bad boy, but when all he does is hate himself, no, I cannot. And the girl, the way that Elle Kennedy wrote this girl, I was not obsessed. Like, the way she would talk about herself, like, she hated herself too. It was just a bunch of characters that hated themselves, and I could not get behind it, and I don't think I ever would be able to get behind it just because I was seriously, like, angry reading this book. And if you watch my Let's Talk About Elle Kennedy book, I will literally tell you about all of the books I loved and then sit in silence when it comes to The Dare. I filmed this video like a little bit after I had read The Dare, and I could not formulate my words better than I can right now that I just did not like this book. And I feel like I was trying to be kind, but seriously, no. Just, I did not like it, and I pretend that they did not exist. Hollis and Rupi should have got their book. Get Connor and I don't even remember her name out of here. Is that even his name? I don't know. Get those people out of here and give me Mike and Rupi, please. The next book was more of a disappointment rather than a like total dislike because I realized the tropes is what made me not like the book. This was The Art of Catching Feelings by Alicia Thompson. I had read another book by her last year and I really liked it, but this one fell flat for me. It was the same trope as The Nanny. There was one book I liked this year that had these tropes in it, and it was a photo finish by Elsie Silver, but as we know, Elsie Silver is the only person that can make me like tropes that I don't like. So then when I started reading this one, I realized, oh yeah, I still don't like these tropes. So I know to avoid these tropes from now on. The secrets and the pretending to be somebody else, like those, I don't, it is not my style, and I get so angry reading books like these. So it was a 2.5. I would recommend it if you like sports romances. If these are your kind of tropes, like I would recommend. And if you like a silly, goofy main character and a fun romance, like this is it. Just, I personally cannot get behind those kind of tropes. The last book that I seriously just kind of like didn't love this year was The Boyfriend Goal by Lauren Blakely. I just didn't like it. I don't know why. I've heard so many raving reviews about this book, but it felt like every other hockey romance, and I've realized this year, if it feels like another book I've read, or if it just gives off the exact same vibes of every other book, I probably won't like it. Because I've read so many other hockey romances that I've just loved and adored, reading one that doesn't have the same kind of writing I like, or doesn't follow like in different footsteps, like these were like copy and paste of some of the other books I've read, which just did not appeal to me. So that's the only reason I didn't like it. I feel like maybe if I had read this one at a different time, if I was in a genuine hockey romance mood, I feel like I would have liked this one a lot better. The style of writing was just not for me. Those were all the more disappointing low star books that I read this year, but now I'm just going to give you all a little overview of some disappointing high star reads that I did read this year as well. These ones I wouldn't consider high star, but they were just not as disappointing as some of the other ones, and I didn't feel anger reading. The first one was the Magnus Chase series. I have just gotten into Percy Jackson in like October, so when I got to the Magnus Chase series, I thought I was really gonna like it, but it honestly did just kind of feel like a copy and paste of Percy Jackson, yet the Norse gods I just did not really enjoy as much as I do Greek gods, so I just didn't really fully fall in love with the characters and the background. Yet the last book in this series I did really enjoy, so I can't mark this down as anything I didn't like because I enjoyed the found family and the characters in this book. The next one is Body Check by Elle Kennedy. I got this one thinking it was a brand new hockey romance she had written, but then I found out that it was an old book, and What I know about old writing, not for me. If it was written in like 2016, like down, I probably think those characters are insufferable, and it kind of felt that way with this one as well. Yet it followed a different kind of plot that I enjoyed. The next book was a part of the If Love series by Anna Huang. It was If We Were Perfect. You would think that I didn't like Blake and Farrah's story with how insufferable they were as characters, but their character development and their emotional arcs had me on the floor. But with Sammy and Olivia, I was not obsessed with their story. I had ended up reading this one a little bit later after the first 3 If Love series, so this one just did not appeal to me in the way I wanted it to. Yet I still really loved seeing the ending and how all the characters kind of come together in this one. I just was not obsessed with the romance specifically, so it wasn't like my all-time favorite. The last book that I just was a bit disappointed with this year was The Stolen Heir by Holly Black. I actually read this not too long ago, and it was just boring, I guess you'd say. I felt as if the characters were mundane and there was nothing really going on in the story. I really like Holly Black's writing, yet in this one, it just did not appeal to me in the way I wanted it to. Fantasy world building in this one, you didn't have to get much world building, but because of that, it felt like the story fell flat to me, and the romance was like building up, so I just was not obsessed with the way the characters were taken about in this story. I hope y'all enjoyed just me giving a little bit of critiques and kind of just telling y'all about books that I didn't like this year. I feel like we have so much positivity that sometimes I do need to just get it out. Tell y'all what I didn't like. Other than hating on people or authors, we can just hate on some characters in the way they are written, and opinions are opinions. Thank you guys so much for watching Bookmas Day 5. I really hope y'all liked this one. I know it was probably not the most fun to just hear me kind of like hate on books, but if we have similar opinions, let me know in the comments. Like, we can talk about some of the books we didn't like, or maybe you could tell me some of your favorite books and we'll see if we agree. I do really hope y'all enjoyed. You can check out all my social medias right here. Mostly just Ems Reads here on everything. Thank you guys so much for coming to Bookmas Day 5, and I will see y'all tomorrow. Bye. See you later. The snow's gonna fall and